So, you want to hear a story, huh? Have I got a story for you? There was a legend.
Welcome back. We have updated Cursed Stormcaster to Chaos 100. The thing is crazy, doing all sorts of damage. Check out the montage, and then I'll walk you through the build and what's going on. Hey guys, please like, comment, subscribe. Do all the things. Help me grow the channel. You guys are awesome. You've given me so much help and support so far, and I just want to grow this thing like crazy throughout the next year. What do you want me to play other than Tiny Tina's? I know we're going to do more Borderlands 3, but what else do you want to see? Hit me in the comments. So how fun does that look? I am absolutely loving this build, loving using a different armor. We are using the Brutal Stampede, a super duper fun, great armor from the PLCs. So let's take a look at overall what we're doing with the build. First of all, we've got this fantastic Fear Not of the Champion, 693 times 2 damage on this thing. This one is a pixie gun. It is powered by spell damage. So your pixies that you summon when you throw this get additional buffs from spell, not your typical gun damage, although we are getting additional gun damage because we are also a spell shot using magic bullets. Right here. So gun and spell damage do both bonus into your Fear Nots here, but they are powered by magic spell damage in general. In the second slot here, we have a cryo version of the gun. This is just for when you run into things that are immune to your poison, or if you splash things, you soak them with your skill over here. Bog down, and then you want to do that additional damage with frost. We do have a Fear Not here, and it does have on spellcast, oops, I bumped that. It does have on spellcast increased frost damage by 30% as well, just an inbuilt buff on the gun for when you need to use it. You'll see here on the main gun, we have when an enemy is damaged by a Spirit Swarm or a Bog Spirit, they take 20% additional poison damage from companions. That is huge for what we're doing. Over here in the melee slot, we have the Wailing Banshee. The weapon itself does not matter. We were looking for the Caustic Hilt, so that's what we were using this for. And then the enchantment itself, of course, increasing poison damage by another 30%. For 5 seconds on each additional spell cast, and you can trigger that basically whenever you cast a spell. And then we want the Caustic Hilt because, as you can see, melee attacks increase your status effect chance and status effect damage by 30% for 10 seconds. That is very, very important for our capstone in the Blightcaller skill tree, Spirit Swarm. so that we can much more easily apply additional DOTs and have them do more damage. We'll go over that again in a bit, just so that we can go a bit more in depth. Here we have a Fear Not again, but you'll see this one is a thrown weapon that bounces while shooting. So I will show you this one. It is a little bit different.
I brim with
And the
magic.
reason we have this on the build is, other than how fun it is to use this gun, I'm not going to lie, we are also using the Barbaload Amulet. So the companions that you get from this gun actually do apply those crossbolts that you see at the bottom. The crossbolts deal 6% increased damage for each crossbolt stuck in the target, and those will ricochet out with the Barbaload. So with your pixies from your normal guns here, these will not be applying the bolts, although firing your gun normally will still apply those bolts. However, the pixies themselves will not apply the bolts for the Barbaload. So when you want to get the most amount of ricochets and totally clear out an area, this is the weapon to use. It's just absolutely phenomenal for mobbing. Moving down here to the rings, we have an Ascended Demon Blight with status effect damage boost. Again, that is very important for our capstone in our Blightcaller skill tree down there at the bottom. So that'll be buffing up that. And then we have Spell Damage Ring here with Spell Critical Hit and Spell Critical Hit Chance. That Spell Critical Hit damage and chance will apply to our spell and also to the damage that we are doing with the Fear Nots. So this ring is absolutely perfect with that additional action skill cooldown as well. Just perfect for the build. Couldn't have asked for better. We actually found this one on stream. Super cool find. Now, our armor. It is a brutal stampede of Untamed Potential. As you can see, we actually managed to get one with 3 in Double Knot. And then we have spell damage, area damage, all damage dealt. But at the bottom, you'll see in the random ones, the random rolls at the bottom, oh man, we got increased ability damage for every companion or Fate Maker, or the companion the Fate Maker has, and increased spell damage for every companion the Fate Maker has. These are all companions. So the more you have out, the more you're increasing your ability and your spell damage at any given time. Pretty freaking cool stuff with this armor. We're making it even crazier with the Toxifying Cursed Wit, so that whenever our action skill is active, we're getting an additional 50% poison damage there from our enchantment. And when your shield is broken and it stays down, you will get the up to increased 100% damage based on your proximity to an enemy. Get up really, really close for that extra full 100% damage. Now the Barbaload here, a crazy status effect damage boost. I would normally go for an Ascended Amulet at this point on our build, but hey, look at this thing. Poison damage, Spellshot power, everything that you could possibly want, all on one amulet. Spellshot power boosting up all of our spell damage. And of course, we're doing a crazy amount of poison damage already with the build. And we are boosting it even further with Active Decay, poison damage 20% there. So we've got triple elemental stacking going on with the poison 50 here, poison 30 here, reduction on defense here with the poison damage, so additional 20% when these guys are doing any damage. And then we come to the Buffmeister. Oh my goodness, look at this thing. This one is just phenomenal for the build, and I've got this ready to go on Loot Lemon to show you what's going on with this Buffmeister. So let me just pull this thing over. So as you can see, our Buffmeister is a Pew Ka-Chow. And the Pew is going to give you a crazy amount of additional handling, accuracy, and recoil buff with fire rate and reload speed, so you can just throw these things like crazy. And when you're shooting your gun, you're going to hit all of your Barbaload shots and have all the bullets ricocheting like crazy. And then, of course, with the Ka-Chow, you see we also get an additional 120% ability damage and 98.4% ability crit chance, which is just going to pump the crap out of our Plague Storm. So we've got ricocheting arrows here, super buff here, another buff here if your shield stays down, and then crazy buffing here. We got the huge stacking for poison. So let's go over to the skills. Over here in the skills, you'll see we are using Plague Storm, as this thing will completely store up a whole bunch of damage to slam back down as lightning bolts. So the more damage you can deal to things in a small area underneath the storm, the more damage will reflect back down in these giant elemental bolts. As you can also see, we will be having both Spell Weaving and Whisper of Rot as our class skills. So with Spell Weaving, we are going to be boosting up our spell damage per stack. And over here with Whisper of Rot, every time we do status effect, or apply a status effect, we are going to increase our elemental damage stacks. We have a lot of damage just right here between the two class skills. So going down the Spellshot tree, we're of course putting 3 here into magic bullets, and then pumping up Spell Sniper so that we have a maximum spell critical hit chance. Now that is actually because this build also loves to use the Curse of Malice of Giants. This thing can come off for like 40 million damage when you get it to pop off just right. This one in particular. This one, I've seen it come off a little bit less. For some reason, the ability damage doesn't translate quite as well with what we're doing on this one. So this one, I've seen it come off for about 40 million poison, absolutely crazy, and that's of course because it's proccing off of your Plague Storm, right? So this thing is just absolutely nuts and can get you tons of dark magic life back if you put on one of the dark magic efficiency rings that I've included on the build here as well. But we did focus on the Buffmeister just to show off what we were doing in the montage, because honestly, it's crazy how fast this thing clears, so I just had to go for it. So that is why we have all that spell critical hit chance though, so that if you do use the Curse of Malice, kaboom. Now here we have spell cooldown rate and action skill cooldown rate pumped up as far as we can go. And then Glass Cannon, increasing our spell damage by 30%, high threat count, giving the additional spell weaving stacks to again pump our spell damage even higher. 2 points dropped here at the end into Imbued Weapon to give us some additional bonus damage. And then we do have 3 out of 3 here in Double Knot. Unfortunately, we can't see it right now. It looks like we don't have it, but you do actually get the effect from the armor here. So don't worry about it. We have 3 out of 3 here as well, giving us tons of additional damage anytime we cast a spell back and forth between these two. And as well as usually a Buffmeister, even more damage. Over on this side, Geist in the Shell, 5 out of 5, one of my absolutely favorite skills. Bog Spirits do ability damage to the Buffmeister, again pumping the crap out of the damage that these skulls will do. And then we've got 5 out of 5 over here so that we have a super high status effect chance and a high status effect duration, which will really help out again with the Spirit Swarm damage that we're going to be doing with the build. This thing can get absolutely crazy. Now, we did take Bog down, even though we're using poison most of the time. Like I said, when you run into those immune enemies, they're poison immune, you can still soak them with poison, and then swap over to your frost damage and just crush them into tiny little pieces. Worst Curse, triggered by your Plague Storm, and triggered by the Dark Magic spell that we showed off earlier, if you're choosing to use it. This thing will, of course, also increase your ability and your spell damage, maximum spell stacks 3, so you can get quite a lot of extra damage out of this thing as well. We've got pretty much all the spell damage you could ever hope to have. Now, we took 3 out of 3 here because we want to increase our critical hit chance in general. Again, just getting our crit chance as high as possible so that our Plague Storm can crit, our Geist Skulls can crit. If we're using the Curse of Malice, that can crit. So as much crit as we can get. The melee damage doesn't really matter here at all. 3 out of 3 in Toxicity to give us all that additional critical hit damage, companion damage, and action skill cooldown rate. Because again, action skill is going to be phenomenal to get back as fast as possible. It is one of the longest action skill cooldowns in the game here on Plague Storm. So it is fantastic to get as much cooldown as you can to get that back as fast as possible. And down here, Spirit Swarm, this is our best buddy. Also a companion, applying status effect damage to an enemy. I wanted to run over there with the mouse. There it is. Creates the Spirit Swarm. Every time you do a bigger DOT to an enemy, or apply one rather, you will buff your Spirit Swarm by regenerating him as a new version of himself as whatever particular DOT type that you do. If it's poison that's bigger, he becomes poison. If it's lightning at the time, he becomes lightning, etc., etc. And you can just see he does a crazy amount of damage, and it's like you can hit for hundreds of millions of damage with this thing if you get it to come off just right. It is absolutely nuts. Now this build, the most I've seen coming off of this particular skill was about 100 million damage per tick. I have not seen more than that. I know there's some builds out there that really focus on this guy to really send him over the top. But, you know, that's not what we were doing. We're more so focusing on the Brutal Stampede armor to have a lot of fun with all of the companion buffing stuff that we get right here. So, finally, let's show off the myth rank here. Oh, no, sorry, I always do this. I almost forgot. We want to show off our hero points. 44 out of 44 here for buffing up the crit damage. A bunch of points down here into attunement so that we can further get our action skill cooldown rate. Some points here into status damage. Now, if you really didn't care about your action skill cooldown rate, you can put more here, buff up your guy. Like I was saying, you can focus a little bit more on status damage, get some crazier power out of your Spirit Swarm. You don't have to, the build is phenomenal, but if you wanted to go into that direction, you definitely can. I wanted to point out, I keep forgetting, I don't do all these things, so that when you guys download my save files, there's some stuff to do, if anyone was ever wondering. So you can actually improve the build even further by going and doing these little extra trial things if you feel like it. And then finally the myth rank. You see, we are at myth rank 1071. I got 17 points kicking around I haven't used right now, because, like, who needs them? But, you know, once again, until they give me the ability to turn this off, that's the rank that we are at, and that's what the build looks like. So, thank you for checking it out. Thank you for just listening to me talk. Thank you for all of the love that you guys have been giving. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you liked this video. Please do it. Or don't. Watch my videos, you guys rock. And until we see you next time, it's coming. The YouTube stream is coming. I will give you a heads up on the community part of the channel very soon. Thanks for being here, guys. Peace out. Happy gaming.
Flexing with style and mad skills, like my name was Eternal Dragons, gameplay and builds. So come get your fill, cause you paying the bill. The conflict's critical, situation real. I'm a pop, I'm let it rock, close mark, old school 360 like an Xbox, make it hot. What you got, gonna give it go right? I'ma watch my watch and I watch you fly. Slowing down my lyrics for a